Hello all, welcome back for the revision of chapter 3 of your capital market and securities law subject. I hope you all have gone through the revision of chapter number 1 and 2 already uploaded. So moving further, let us begin with this chapter. So unlike chapter number 1 and 2, what I have done is in module itself, I have summarized the topics for revision purpose. This will help you out in getting your revision done with more clarity and will also boost your confidence as you will be able to get clear grip on every concept with the precise gist I have provided you herein. So to begin with our first topic, which is regulatory framework. So the chapter's name is Securities Contract and Regulation Act 1956. So what all are the other acts and rules? Along with it, we are going to be covering in here are Securities Contract Regulation Act 1956, Securities Contract Regulation Rules 1957, Securities Contract Regulation, Stock Exchange and Clearing Corporate Regulations 2018, Securities Contract Regulation, Procedure for Holding Inquiry and Imposing Penalties Rules 2005, Securities Contract Regulation, Appeal to Securities Appellate Tribunal, that is SAT, Rules 2000. So to give you a brief, here are total 13 topics in this chapter, which we are going to cover. And alongside the topic, there is a precise gist of every topic I have provided. So it will be easy for us to get the grip on the concepts. Okay, so moving further, our next topic is Securities Contract Regulation Act 1956. तो इसका ब्रीफ यहाँ पे हमको एक दिया हुआ है. सो ये इफेक्टिव हुआ था 25/1957 में. इसका नीड क्या था, इसका जेनेसिस क्या था? इट वाज टू प्रिवेंट अनडिजायरेबल ट्रांजैक्शंस एंड रेगुलेट स्टॉक एक्सचेंजेस फॉर सेफ ट्रेडिंग. इसका ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या था? टू रेगुलेट सिक्योरिटीज बिजनेस, प्रिवेंट स्पेकुलेशन एंड कवर कनेक्टेड मैटर्स. इट ऑल्सो कवर्स द अदर कनेक्टेड मैटर्स. इसके ऑब्जेक्ट्स क्या थे? ये बिल जब पास हुआ था तो इसका ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या था? टू रेगुलेट द स्टॉक एक्सचेंजेस, टू रेगुलेट सिक्योरिटीज ट्रांजैक्शन, प्रिवेंट स्पेकुलेशन. इट एक्सटेंड्स टू होल ऑफ इंडिया. फ्रेमवर्क क्या है इसका? इट डिफाइंस वेरियस टर्म्स इन रिलेशन टू द सिक्योरिटीज, रिकॉग्निशन ऑफ स्टॉक एक्सचेंजेस, listing of securities as per Securities Contract Regulation Rules 1957. Contracts in securities, valid or illegal, is decided as per the framework of these regulations, and how will the brokers will operate is also overlooked by the regulation mentioned herein. So central government's control under these are direct and indirect control over the stock exchanges, contracts and securities, listing of securities. So recognition conditions, stock exchanges must follow central government and SEBI rules along with maintaining listing regulations as per SCR rules 1957. So for any stock exchanges to get the tag of recognition, that is recognized stock exchanges, to be called it as a recognized stock exchange, they must follow the SEBI guidelines along with the listing regulation rules 1957. Okay, then they will be able to get the tag of recognized stock exchanges. तो इसका summary आप कैसा बना सकते हो? SCR is the name of the regulation. So as for stock exchanges, C for contracts and securities, R for regulation of brokers and listing, A for aims prevents speculations. Aims to prevent speculations are some of the functions which are covered under the Securities Contract and Regulation Act. Okay. Our next topic is Securities Contract Regulation Act 1956, a bird's eye view. तो यहाँ पे एक रिप्रेजेंटेशन दिया हुआ है आपका इमेज फॉर्म में. तो SCRA is for recognition, de-recognition, corporatization, demutualization of stock exchanges. Stock exchanges are the foremost thing they will be looking forward. So they also prescribe the powers of stock exchanges, SEBI, and central government. Okay. Next one is delisting of securities, penalties and procedures, public issue and listing of securities, and right of appeal to Securities Appellate Tribunal against refusal of stock exchange to list the securities of public companies. So these are some of the functions of Securities Contract Regulation Act. Regulations rules made under the SCRA. So here are few regulations and rules which are covered under the SCRA itself 1956. यहाँ पे भी आपके regulatory framework में हमने वो पढ़ा था. So we will go through it one by one. So our first one is Securities Contract Regulations Rules 1957. So here is the rule 1957. It was issued by central government to implement the objects of SCRA. What does it covers? Procedure for recognition of stock exchanges, submission of periodical returns and annual reports by recognized stock exchanges, inquiry into the affairs of the stock exchanges and their members, requirements for listing of securities. See, the basic idea is to whom the companies are intimating and are answerable. Ultimately, the stock exchanges. Okay, SEBI and stock exchanges are the company whom they are answerable. But what about the stock exchanges? They are answerable to the under the Securities Contract Regulation Act to the central government. Okay, so उनके guidelines के अंदर इनको क्या क्या काम करना है. Okay, so इसीलिए क्या क्या handle करेगा हमारा SCRA. They will be the watchdogs for the stock exchanges. Okay. So procedure for recognition of stock exchanges, उनको recognition करने का procedure they will look after. Submission of periodical returns, उनको क्या क्या returns and annual report submit करने, that will be looked by them. Inquiry into the affairs of the stock exchanges, requirements for listing of securities. Next one is Securities Contract Regulation, Stock Exchange and Clearing Corporation Regulation 2018. Securities Contract Regulations, Stock Exchange and Clearing Corporate Regulation 2018 was issued by SEBI to deal with recognition, ownership and governance of stock exchanges and clearing corporations. इसका aim क्या है? To ensure transparency, fair ownership and proper management. Securities Contract Regulation, Procedure for Holding, Inquiring and Imposing Penalties Rules 2005. It was issued by central government, provides procedure for conducting inquiry and imposing penalties as the name suggests, applicable to penalties under section 23A to 23H of SCRA. Next one is, and last one is, Securities Contract Regulation, Appeal to SAT Rules 2000, which provides the procedure for filing appeals before the SAT, ensures proper appellate mechanism under the SCRA. Okay, तो आपको ईयर याद रहेगा तो आपको ये सारे रेगुलेशंस एंड रूल्स इसके अंदर के याद रह जाएंगे 1957, 2000, 2005 and 2018. Okay, 1957 is the Securities Contract Regulation 1957. 2000 is the Securities Contract Regulation Appeal to SAT Rules. 2005 is the Securities Contract Regulation Procedure for Holding Inquiry and Imposing Penalties Rules 2005. And 2018 is the Securities Contract Regulation, Stock Exchange and Clearing Corporate Regulation 2018. Okay, so we have covered these. Next one is non-applicability of SCRA. कौन कौन से केसेस में SCRA एप्लीकेबल नहीं है? अगर हमने एप्लीकेबिलिटी पढ़ ली है तो नाउ वी हैव टू लुक आफ्टर द नॉन एप्लीकेबिलिटी एज वेल. सो फर्स्ट वन इज गवर्नमेंट एंड अदर इंस्टीट्यूशंस. सो इट इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल टू द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, RBI, local authorities or corporations set up by the special law. Next one is convertible instruments. It is not applicable to the convertible bonds, shares, warrants, options or rights, but only to the extent that they entitle the holder to share securities at a price agreed upon when issued. Okay. Next one is exemption by central government. The central government may exempt any class of contract from the applicability of SCRA if it is in the interest of trade, commerce or economic development of the country. So here is a trick: GCC, government, convertible securities and central government exemptions. Okay. Next topic is some of the key definitions we are going to cover. So securities under section 2H. This is very basic. I have also provided the gist of this as well with some of the hints here. Next definition is stock exchange, recognized stock exchange, government security, derivative, SAT, and member. So all these definitions I have covered herein. You can just give it a read and you will be very much clear with the definitions. Our next topic is recognition of stock exchanges. So for getting recognized as a getting recognized, there are three stages under section 3, section 4, and section 5. First one is application for recognition of stock exchanges, grant of recognition, and third last one is withdrawal of recognition. Okay, so these are not the stages, these are the steps. क्या क्या हो सकता है अगर आपका एप्लीकेशन आपने किया तो उसके बाद ग्रांट इज द हमारा नेक्स्ट स्टेप. ग्रांट हो जाने के बाद विड्रॉल का हमारे पास ऑप्शन है, या तो वो वॉलेंट्री हो सकता है या तो फिर हमको ड्यू टू सम नॉन कंप्लायंसेस हमारा वो रिकॉग्निशन विड्रॉ करने के लिए हमको प्रोसीजर करना पड़ेगा. ओके, सो section number 3 is the application for recognition. So if a stock exchange wants recognition, it must apply to central government or SEBI. Application must include copy of bylaws, rules for regulation and control of contracts, copy of rules of constitution, including governing body, powers and duties of office bearers, membership rules, rules for partnership as member, rules for authorized representative and clerks. Section 4, grant of recognition. If SEBI grants recognition after inquiry, if it is satisfied that क्या क्या satisfy क्या क्या चीजों से जब ये satisfied होगी तब ये grant करेगी recognition, are the rules and bylaws which ensure fair dealing, thus they also protect the investors interest. Okay, exchange agrees to comply with the extra conditions imposed by the SEBI or central government. It is in trade interest and public interest. So if these three conditions are fulfilled, they will grant the recognition. Conditions क्या क्या हैं सेबी जो impose कर सकती है? Membership qualifications, how contracts between members shall be entered and enforced, up to 3 government nominees on the exchange, maintenance and audit of members accounts. Recognition जो होता है वो publish होगा गजट ऑफ इंडिया में, स्टेट गजट में भी publish होगा, refusal only after hearing the exchange giving written reasons. Withdrawal of recognition कब कब हो सकता है? If it is in trade interest or public interest, follows due process notice plus opportunity of hearing. हमको ये बेसिक होता है कि opportunity of being heard देना पड़ेगा and due process follow करना पड़ेगा, नोटिस देनी होगी. Withdrawal जो होगा वो पब्लिश होगा वापस से ऑफिस हमारे ऑफिशियल गजट में. नोट इसका एक दिया हुआ है मैंने, withdrawal doesn't affect the contracts already entered before the withdrawal. Government and SEBI may make provisions for performance of existing contracts. If stock exchange fails, corporatization, demutualizations, or scheme is rejected by the SEBI, recognition automatically stands withdrawn. अगर ये circumstances हो रहे हैं कोई भी स्कीम के तहत तो वो ऑटोमेटिकली विड्रॉ हो जाएगा. Our next topic is powers conferred under SCRA, powers of central government, powers of SEBI, and powers of stock exchanges. Powers of central government क्या क्या है? To call for periodical returns or direct inquiries, to direct rules to be made or make rules to supersede governing bodies of recognized stock exchanges, to suspend business of recognized stock exchange, to prohibit contracts in certain cases, to grant immunity, to delegate. तो इसको वन बाय वन हम पढ़ लेंगे. पावर्स ऑफ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, पीरियोडिकल रिटर्न एंड इंक्वायरीज का इनका पावर है. स्टॉक एक्सचेंजेस मस्ट सबमिट पीरियोडिकल रिटर्न्स टू सेबी. दे मे आस्क फॉर बुक्स एंड रिकॉर्ड्स एंड विच इज सब्जेक्ट टू द इंस्पेक्शन बाय द सेबी. इनकी रूल मेकिंग पावर है यहाँ पे. सुपरसीड गवर्निंग बॉडी, किसी भी गवर्निंग बॉडी को वो सुपरसीड कर सकते हैं. कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस क्या क्या होंगे उसके? एग्जिस्टिंग मेंबर्स सीज टू होल्ड ऑफिस, appointed persons exercise governing body's powers, exchange property vest in appointed persons, governing body may be reconstituted later. They may suspend the business, prohibit the contracts, grant immunity, power to delegate. Government can delegate its power to SEBI and RBI, power to make rules. Government may frame detailed rules to be laid before the parliament first. Okay, so we are here clear with the powers of central government. Next one is powers of SEBI. Powers of SEBI include information and inquiry, power to call for information. SEBI may, by written order, call upon a recognized stock exchange or its member to furnish in writing such information or explanation relating to their affairs as required. Appoint inquiry officer to examine affairs of the governing body of a stock exchange or affairs of any member in relation to the stock exchange. SEBI may also direct the governing body itself to conduct inquiry and submit report. Duty to produce documents. ड्यूटी किसकी होगी? कंपनी की होगी. Okay, so when inquiry is initiated, the following persons are bound to produce books, not company stock exchanges. Okay, directors, managers, secretaries, or officers of the stock exchange, every member of the stock exchange. If member is a firm, every partner, manager, secretary, or officer of the firm. Any other person, body who has had business dealings with the above persons. They must produce relevant books, accounts, and documents, furnish statements and information as required from time to time. Post that, we have parts of recognized stock exchanges. वो cover करते हैं हम. So first one is power to make rules restricting voting rights. Recognized stock exchanges may make rules for restricting voting rights. Only members can vote. One member, one vote rule, irrespective of capital contribution. Restricting proxy voting, incidental and supplementary matters. So first we have read central government's power, then we have read SEBI's power. अब stock exchanges की क्या क्या power होती हैं on the company? Okay, here we are reading about that. So power to make rules restricting voting rights is the first one. Power to make bylaws. So with SEBI's prior approval, exchanges can frame bylaws to regulate contracts. Some important bylaws areas are trading and opening and closing of market hours, clearing houses, settlement, delivery, payments, reporting to SEBI, publication, clearing house particulars, etc. So these are few of the powers which are vested with SEBI's. Stock exchanges, sorry. Market regulation, open, close, high, low. Emergency powers to fix prices, handle syndicate operations, disputed arbitrations, settlement of claims, fee and penalties, and other controls. Okay, punishment under bylaws, fine, expulsion, suspension, and similar penalties are some of the powers which are vested with stock exchanges. Next one is powers of SEBI under the SCRA. Before that, we have read the powers of SEBI in general, but under SCRA, what are some of the specific powers which are given to the SEBI? Power to make or amend bylaws, power to issue directions. Third one is power to make regulations. Fourth one is power to adjudicate, and fifth one is powers not applicable to IFSC. So this is the gist of powers of SEBI under the SCRA. You can just go through the pointers once and you will be very well clear with the powers of SEBI. Public issue. Section 17A of SCRA 1956 deals with the public issue and listing of securities. So eligibility to offer to public and listing. Eligibility क्या क्या होनी चाहिए? Securities referred in section 2H and subsection IE. So point number 1 is eligibility to offer to public. Our first condition is if securities referred in section 2H, subsection IE shall not be issued. These are restricted securities. Second one is issuer meets eligibility criteria. It complies with the other requirements specified by the SEBI. Application for listing. Issuer must apply to one or more recognized stock exchanges for listing permission before issuing the offer document to the public. Repayment if listing permission denied or not granted. If listing permission is not granted or refused, the issuer must immediately repay all the money received from the applicants. If repayment is not made within 8 days, issuer and every director or trustee in default are jointly and severally liable. And interest payable on unpaid amount is 15% per annum from the 8th day. Application of existing listing provisions. All the provisions of the Act relating to listing of securities of a public company apply same to the listing of such SPD securities. Our next topic is listing of securities. Here is the public issue in general we have studied. लिस्टिंग के लिए हमको क्या क्या करना पड़ेगा, लीगल रिक्वायरमेंट क्या क्या है उसकी. एनी पर्सन सिकिंग टू लिस्ट सिक्योरिटीज ऑन अ रिकॉग्नाइज्ड स्टॉक एक्सचेंज मस्ट कंप्लाई विद सेबी लिस्टिंग ऑब्लिगेशन एंड डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट्स रेगुलेशन. सेबी का यहाँ पे एक केस स्टडी दिया हुआ है, उसका जिस्ट मैंने आपको दिया हुआ है, which is the Odisha Minerals Development Corporation Limited case. Delayed disclosure of price sensitive information to stock exchange during 2nd of July to 10th of August 2012. Responsible person यहाँ पे हमारे दो थे. Violation हमारा क्या हुआ था, Code of Corporate Disclosure Practice for Prevention of Insider Trading, Schedule 2 read with Regulation 12 Subregulation 2 PIT Regulations 1992. क्लॉज 36 था यहाँ पे इन्वॉल्व. सेबी का एक्शन क्या था, द कंपनी एंड ऑफिसर्स वर हेल्ड लायबल फॉर द डिलेड डिस्क्लोजर्स. तो कोई भी अगर प्राइस सेंसिटिव इंफॉर्मेशन है तो उसका डिस्क्लोजर का यहाँ पे नॉन कंप्लायंस हुआ था. इसका की टेक अवे क्या था, टाइमली डिस्क्लोजर ऑफ प्राइस सेंसिटिव इंफॉर्मेशन इज मैंडेटरी फॉर लिस्टेड कंपनीज. नॉन कंप्लायंस लीड्स टू सेबीज एक्शन अंडर पीआईटी रेगुलेशन एंड लिस्टिंग अग्रीमेंट प्रोविजंस. Our next topic is Our next topic is right to appeal. अपील हम कहाँ कहाँ कर सकते हैं, राइट ऑफ अपील टू सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, अपील टू सेट एंड राइट टू लीगल रिप्रेजेंटेशन, एंड फोर्थ वन इज अपील टू सुप्रीम कोर्ट. So if a recognized stock exchange refuses to list the securities of a public company or collective investment scheme, the company or scheme must be given reason of refusal. They can appeal to the central government within 15 days of receiving reasons or within 15 days after the expiry of the specified time under Section 40 of the Companies Act 2013 or within further 1 month if allowed for sufficient cause. Central government powers क्या क्या है उनकी, central government की, they can set aside or vary the stock exchange's decision or grant or refuse listing if stock exchange fail to act. Stock exchange must comply with the orders of the central government. Appeal to SET. If refusal is under stock exchanges bylaws, the company can appeal to SET. Similar timelines: 15 days after the reason, 15 days after expiry, or further 1 month with SET's permission. SET की power क्या क्या है? They may vary or set aside the stock exchange's decision or grant or refuse the listing if stock exchanges fail to act. Set orders must be followed by the stock exchanges. Procedure: forms and fees as prescribed to be paid. Set sends a copy to SEBI and parties. Appeal to be disposed within 6 months. Right to legal representation क्या है? Appellant can appear in person or authorized chartered accountant, company secretaries, cost accountants, legal practitioners, or officers to present the case. Appeal to Supreme Court. Aggrieved person can appeal to Supreme Court within 16 days of SAT's order. Supreme Court may allow further 60 days if sufficient cause exists. Okay, so here is the total framework. Appeal to the central government, appeal to the SAT, legal representation कौन कौन कर सकता है, and further appeal to the Supreme Court. Penalties क्या क्या हैं? You can go through it once. Here is the generic penalty provisions I have provided gist of. If you want, you can just give it a read for the penalties of contraventions under each section. Case laws, here are few case laws. I have also provided the gist of that as well. This is for your general knowledge with respect to the common non-compliances being covered here. These are based on the actual non-compliances which is being committed by the companies. Settlement of administrative and civil proceedings. Settlement का provision यहाँ पे दिया हुआ है. So who can apply for settlement? Any person against whom proceedings have been initiated or may be initiated under section 12A or section 23I. एप्लीकेशन इसको देना पड़ेगा. द पर्सन मे फाइल रिटन एप्लीकेशन टू सेबी प्रपोजिंग सेटलमेंट ऑफ द एलिज्ड डिफॉल्ट्स. सेबी का डिस्क्रिप्शन है वहां पे टू एग्री फॉर द सेटलमेंट. वहां पे वो नेचर ऑफ डिफॉल्ट देखेंगे, ग्रेविटी ऑफ डिफॉल्ट देखेंगे, इम्पैक्ट ऑफ डिफॉल्ट देखेंगे, उसके बेसिस पे दे विल गिव देयर जजमेंट. सेटलमेंट ऑफ कैन बी ऑन पेमेंट ऑफ सम और अदर टर्म्स एज पर सेबी सेटलमेंट रेगुलेशंस अंडर सेबी एक्ट 1992. प्रोसीजर क्या है इसका? सेटलमेंट टू फॉलो प्रोसीजर स्पेसिफाइड बाय सेबी अंडर द सेबी एक्ट 1992. Bar on appeal. No appeal lies under section 23L against an order passed by the SEBI adjudicating officer under this section. Utilization of settlement amount कैसे होगा? All settlement amounts excluding disgorged amount plus legal cost credited to the consolidated fund of the India. Recovery officer. A SEBI officer authorized by the special general order to act as recovery officer under the act. Essence क्या है इसका? Section 23JA enables compounding settlement of SCRA proceedings with SEBI, but once settled, no further appeal is allowed. Amounts to go to the Consolidated Fund of India only. Okay. Appeal to SET, we have already read. इसका procedure, if you want, you can give it a read. Case law भी एक यहाँ पे दिया हुआ है मैंने. Essence क्या है? SET provides remedy to listed companies against exchanges. SEBI adjudicating officer decisions such as suspension, delisting, or penalties. Here are few more case laws in this chapter. There are quite more case laws as compared to the other chapters. You can just give it a read to get clarity that what all are the non-compliances being happening in practical world. Offenses के बारे में यहाँ पे define किया हुआ है. General contravention, if a person contravenes or attempts to contravene or abets contravention of this act, rules, regulation or bylaws where no specific punishment is provided. Punishment क्या होगी फिर? Imprisonment up to 10 years or fine up to 25 crore or both. Failure to comply with penalty or order. If a person fails to pay penalty imposed by the SEBI adjudicating officer or fails to comply with directions or orders given by them, they will be punishable with imprisonment minimum 1 month or minimum 1 month to 10 year or fine up to 25 crore or both. एप्लीकेशन फॉर लिस्टिंग ऑफ सिक्योरिटीज, यहाँ पे डिटेल में हमको दिया हुआ है कि एप्लीकेशन हमको कैसे करनी है फॉर लिस्टिंग. अ पब्लिक कंपनी अंडर द कंपनीज एक्ट सीकिंग टू लिस्ट इट्स सिक्योरिटीज. सी अ पब्लिक कंपनी, इट मीन्स अगर किसी प्राइवेट कंपनी को लेके आना है लिस्टिंग तो उसको पहले एक पब्लिक कंपनी में कन्वर्ट होना पड़ेगा. दे हैव टू गेट कन्वर्टेड इनटू द पब्लिक कंपनी फर्स्ट. ओके. So a public company under the Companies Act 2013 seeking to list its securities on recognized stock exchange must apply along with following documents and particulars. Essential documents क्या क्या हैं? Foundation documents, that is their MOA, AOA, trust deed. Next one is offer, issue related records, all the prospectus statements in lieu of prospectus, offers for sale, circulars, advertisement in last 5 years. 5 years के जितने भी आपके ऑफर और इशू रिलेटेड डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं वो यहाँ पे आपको प्रेजेंट करने हैं. नेक्स्ट वन इज योर फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन, बैलेंस शीट फॉर लास्ट 5 years और शॉर्टर फॉर न्यू कंपनीज. अगर आपका इनकॉर्पोरेशन कम टाइम का ही हुआ है अभी एंड यू वांट टू कम अप विद आईपीओ तो जितने भी टाइम का है उतने टाइम का आपको फाइनेंशियल्स देने हैं. डिविडेंड, कैश बोनस रिकॉर्ड्स ऑफ लास्ट 10 years, डिविडेंड, इंटरेस्ट अरियर्स इफ एनी. Arrangement and contracts, what all are the arrangements and contracts which you have entered into, वो आपको यहाँ पे सबमिट करना है. कंपनी का बैकग्राउंड देना है, ब्रीफ हिस्ट्री सिंस इनकॉर्पोरेशन, कैपिटल डिटेल्स, कंपनी का टोटल कैपिटल बिल्डअप आपको प्रोवाइड करना है कि ओवर द इयर्स सिंस इनकॉर्पोरेशन आपका कैपिटल कैसे कैसे चेंज हुआ है, ऑथराइज कैपिटल, पेड अप कैपिटल, किस किस कॉर्पोरेट एक्शंस के थ्रू उसमें चेंज आया है। रेगुलेटरी फाइलिंग्स एंड अरेंज अग्रीमेंट्स, सेबी एक्नॉलेजमेंट्स फॉर फाइलिंग ऑफ ऑफर डॉक्यूमेंट, अग्रीमेंट्स विद फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस वो आपको सबमिट करने हैं। ओनरशिप डिटेल्स, टॉप 10 होल्डर्स ऑफ ईच क्लास ऑफ सिक्योरिटीज, जो भी आपके सिक्योरिटीज होल्ड कर रहे हैं उनकी डिटेल्स देनी है। डिटेल्स ऑफ सिक्योरिटीज फॉर विच लिस्टिंग परमिशन इज सॉट, जिस भी सिक्योरिटी की आप लिस्टिंग कराना चाहते हो उस सिक्योरिटी की प्रॉपर डिटेल्स आपको यहाँ पे प्रोवाइड करनी है स्टॉक एक्सचेंजेस एंड सेबी को। ओके, एडिशनल पावर ऑफ स्टॉक एक्सचेंजेस, द रिकॉग्नाइज्ड स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में रिक्वायर फर्दर डॉक्यूमेंट्स और पर्टिकुलर्स एज डीम्ड नेसेसरी। एसेंस क्या है इसका? Rule 19(1) lays down a comprehensive disclosure and documentation checklist covering constitution, issue records, financial history, contracts, capital details, regulatory filings, and top security holders. It ensures transparency and accountability before granting listing approval. So they will be getting a fair idea that if the company is lacking on anything or any other non-compliance is being observed in their eyes, they will not proceed with the listing of securities. Okay, so they won't hamper the interest of the investors by agreeing the company to get their securities listed on the stock exchanges. So that is why this section is important. Rule 19(2), conditions in articles of association for listing. आर्टिकल्स में आपका लिस्टिंग के लिए प्रोविजन होना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. To get its securities listed, the company must satisfy the exchange that its articles provides the following: mandatory provision in AOA, common transfer form, lien restriction, fully paid up shares are free from all lien, partly paid shares lien limited only to the money called or payable at fixed time. Third one is advance payment of calls, unclaimed dividends, call options on shares. So these are few of the pointers which are mandatory in your which are mandatory to be included in your AOA for the listing purpose. Provisional listing क्या होता है? A stock exchange में provisionally admit the securities if the company undertakes to amend its AOA in the next general meeting to meet the above requirement and agrees to comply with them in meantime. अगर इनमें से कोई प्रोविजन नहीं भी है तो प्रोविजनल बेसिस पे एडमिट किया जाता है स्टॉक एक्सचेंजेस का जो भी लिस्टिंग है, एंड उसके नेक्स्ट एजे में आपको ये सारे चेंजेस कैरी कर लेने हैं अपने एओए में. 19(2)(b) क्या है? मिनिमम पब्लिक ऑफर एंड अलॉटमेंट. सो सी, आपने कंपनीज एक्ट में भी पढ़ा होगा, व्हेन अ कंपनी अप्लाइज फॉर लिस्टिंग it must ensure a minimum public offer based on post issue capital at offer price. Minimum public offer requirements क्या क्या है यहाँ पे? If post issue capital is 1600 crore, at least 25% of each class of equity and convertible debentures must be available for the public. Okay, अगर 1600 से ज्यादा है बट 4000 करोड़ से कम है तो पब्लिक ऑफर वैल्यू मस्ट बी 400 करोड़ वर्थ ऑफ सिक्योरिटीज. अगर 400,000 से करोड़ से ज्यादा है बट लेस देन 1 लाख करोड़ तक है तो एटलीस्ट 10% ऑफ ईच क्लास ऑफ सिक्योरिटीज आर टू बी देयर फॉर द पब्लिक. इफ पोस्ट इशू कैपिटल इज मोर देन 1 लाख करोड़, एटलीस्ट 5,000 करोड़ वर्थ प्लस 5% ऑफ ईच क्लास ऑफ सिक्योरिटीज आर टू बी देयर फॉर द डीलिंग्स विद द पब्लिक. टाइमलाइन क्या है इनको इंक्रीज करने का? केस नंबर 2 एंड 3 में क्या है? मस्ट इंक्रीज टू 25% पब्लिक शेयर होल्डिंग विद इन 3 years ऑफ लिस्टिंग. लिस्टिंग कर लो, 3 years का आपको टाइम है कि अपना पब्लिक शेयर होल्डिंग बढ़ा दो टू 25%. ओके, केस नंबर 4 के लिए क्या है? जो 1 लाख से ज्यादा है, विच इज मोर देन 1 लाख करोड़, 10% विद इन 2 years and 25% विद इन 5 years ऑफ लिस्टिंग. स्पेशल प्रोविजंस क्या है? सुपीरियर वोटिंग राइट्स शेयर्स इफ इशूड दे मस्ट ऑल्सो be listed along with ordinary shares on the same recognized stock exchange. IFSC listing only 10% minimum public offer required instead of 25%. इनको थोड़ा सा कम है मिनिमम पब्लिक शेयर होल्डिंग. एसेंस क्या है इसका? दिस इज टू इंश्योर एडिक्वेट पब्लिक फ्लोट फॉर लिक्विडिटी एंड इन्वेस्टर प्रोटेक्शन with higher capital companies allowed phased compliance. सो दिस विल इंश्योर कि सारा कैपिटल आपके प्रमोटर्स ने होल्ड करके नहीं रखा हुआ है. देर आर शेयर्स फॉर टू मेंटेन द लिक्विडिटी ऑफ योर शेयर्स. यहाँ पे वो बाइंग एंड सेलिंग होगी तो वहाँ पे लिक्विडिटी मेंटेन रहेगी और हमको एक्चुअल पोजीशन पता चलेगी कंपनी की मार्केट में. ओके. नेक्स्ट वन इज कंडीशंस प्रेसिडेंट फॉर लिस्टिंग एप्लीकेशन. लिस्टिंग एप्लीकेशन का पढ़ लिया हमने. उसके लिए क्या क्या हमारे एओए में प्रोविजन होने चाहिए वो पढ़ लिया. बट बिफोर दैट कुछ मेजर प्रेसिडेंट क्लॉजेस हैं जो होनी चाहिए, प्रेसिडेंट कंडीशंस है जो कंपनी को कंप्लाई करनी चाहिए टू गेट देयर सिक्योरिटीज लिस्टेड. फर्स्ट वन इज लेटर ऑफ अलॉटमेंट. इशू साइमल्टेनियसली, serially numbered होना चाहिए, must allow splitting and renunciation if required, clearly state how dividends and interest will be calculated. क्या क्या उसमें डिटेल्स होनी चाहिए वो यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है आपके अलॉटमेंट डॉक्यूमेंट्स में. receipts and certificates, issued receipts for deposited securities, no fee for transfer, registration, subdivision, consolidation, must issue certificates within 1 month of transfer, balance certificates also within 1 month, consolidation and renewal, legal documents, dividend and bonus issue, corporate changes, inform stock exchanges of any material changes in business, change in directions, change in directors, MD, auditors, etc. Reports and notices, send copies of annual report, audited accounts, status report to the stock exchanges. Forward all the notices, circulars, resolution जो भी आपको आए हैं वो इनको आपको फॉरवर्ड करना है. न्यू इश्यूज एंड री इश्यूज के बारे में इनको इन्फॉर्म्ड रखना है. ट्रांसफर बुक क्लोजर, इसके बारे में इन्फॉर्म करना है कि आपको आपका बुक क्लोजर एंड रिकॉर्ड डेट्स हो रहा है, उसका आपको इंटीमेशन देना है. मेजर होल्डर्स इंफॉर्मेशन, राइट्स ऑफ शेयर होल्डर्स, उनके क्या क्या उनके राइट्स में अगर आप कुछ चेंज कर रहे हो तो वो भी आपको इन्फॉर्म करना है. रिडेम्पशन एंड कैंसिलेशन, फेयर मार्केट इंफॉर्मेशन, compliance with exchanges rules from time to time. So these are few of the conditions जो आपको फुलफिल करना है. दिस इज टू गिव इट अ रीड. ये आपको आगे लिस्टिंग वाले में लिस्टिंग ऑब्लिगेशन डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट में आपको प्रॉपर लिस्टिंग कंप्लायंसेस पढ़ने मिलेंगे. दे आर जस्ट हियर टू गिव यू अ ब्रीफ ऑन हाउ द लिस्टिंग इज इनिशिएटेड. एप्लीकेशन फॉर लिस्टिंग ऑफ न्यू सिक्योरिटीज, उसके बारे में यहाँ पे दिया हुआ है. फ्रेश इशू के लिए दिया हुआ है यहाँ पे प्रोविजन. व्हेन द कंपनी इशूज अ न्यू क्लास और काइंड ऑफ सिक्योरिटी to the public for the first time, an application for listing is mandatory. फर्दर इशू क्या होता है, अगर आपने ऑलरेडी इशू किया हुआ है पब्लिक को एंड उसके बाद आप वापस से अपना कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट पूरा करने के लिए लेके आते हो तो उसको हम फर्दर इशू बोलते हैं. सस्पेंशन और विड्रॉल ऑफ एडमिशन टू डीलिंग्स इन सिक्योरिटीज किस किस केस में हो सकता है. स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में सस्पेंड विड्रॉल लिस्टिंग फॉर ब्रीच, नॉन कंप्लायंस और अदर वैलिड और फॉर एनी वैलिड अदर वैलिड रीजंस. उसका वो रीजन रिकॉर्ड करेंगे राइटिंग में. अपॉर्चुनिटी ऑफ बीइंग हर्ड उनको देना इज मैंडेटरी. अपील हो सकता है इसके अगेंस्ट में. इफ सस्पेंशन मोर देन 3 months का है और विड्रॉल है तो कंपनी कैन अपील टू सेट विच कैन कंफर्म वेरी सेट असाइड डिसीजन. रिस्टोरेशन हो सकता है एक्सचेंज में रिस्टोर ऑन इट्स ओन और एज पर सेट्स ऑर्डर. पब्लिक सेक्टर कंपनीज सेम लिस्टिंग रिक्वायरमेंट्स अप्लाई होंगे उनके लिए भी. सेबी की पावर क्या है, सेबी में वेव, रिलैक्स और रिलैक्स एनी लिस्टिंग रिक्वायरमेंट्स. ओके. मिनिमम पब्लिक शेयर होल्डिंग के बारे में हमने थोड़ा सा ऊपर पढ़ा था, यहाँ पे हम वापस पढ़ लेते हैं एक बार. मिनिमम पब्लिक शेयर होल्डिंग इन लिस्टेड कंपनीज. जनरल रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है, एवरी लिस्टेड कंपनी मस्ट मेंटेन मिनिमम पब्लिक शेयर होल्डिंग ऑफ 25%. we have just read. Every listed company must maintain minimum, sorry, second one is listed public company, listed public sector companies, if public shareholding is below 25% on commencement of SCRR second amendment rules 2018, must increase it to 25% within 3 years as per SEBI regulations. अगर 25% से कम है तो आप 3 साल के अंदर उसको बढ़ा सकते हो. मेंटेनेंस आफ्टर रीचिंग 25%, अगर चलो अब 25% तक हो गया आपका पब्लिक शेयर होल्डिंग, उसके बाद उसको मेंटेन भी रखना है आपको. सो कंपनीज हूज सिक्योरिटीज आर लिस्टेड बाय पब्लिक ऑफर मस्ट मेंटेन 25% पब्लिक शेयर होल्डिंग फ्रॉम द डेट इट रीचेस 25%. इफ इट फॉल्स बिलो 25% at any time, it must restore to 25% within 12 months as per SEBI guidelines. अगर it falls below 25%, it must restore within 2 years. If it falls below 25% due to SCRR amendments 2015, it must restore to 25% within 3 years in these cases. Due to deposit receipt scheme, due to SEBI share-based employment benefits regulations, if it falls below 25% due to insolvency resolution plan, ये प्रोविजन है 25% आपको करना है 3 साल के अंदर. इफ पब्लिक शेयर होल्डिंग फॉल्स बिलो 10%, रिस्टोर एटलीस्ट 10% विद इन 12 months. दिस इज वेरी जेनरिक. आप एक बार बेसिक सा इसको रीड आउट दे दो एंड यू विल बी वेरी मच क्लियर विद द प्रोविजन ऑफ द minimum public shareholding. Okay, so here we are done with our revision of chapter number 3 as well. So for the notes, you can just pin me on the number. I will be providing you the same in the comment section. You can pin me out, and for any other assistance as well, you can reach me on the given number. So have happy studies and stay hydrated. Bye.